Margaret never thought clutter was a problem until the day she tripped over a pile of old magazines and nearly sent her teacup flying. She caught herself, heart racing, and looked around. When did her cozy home start feeling so overwhelming? She had promised herself for years that she'd get around to clearing things out. Someday. But the truth? The longer she waited, the harder it became. So she made a bold decision. 11 days. One home. A complete declutter. Could she do it? Could she turn chaos into calm in just 1 week? She had her doubts. But what happened next completely changed her home and her life. 1. The mindset shift. Why decluttering feels so hard. Margaret sat in her favorite armchair, staring at the room around her. Books were stacked high on the coffee table, paper stuffed in drawers, and knickknacks covered every surface. Where did all this stuff even come from? She sighed. The thought of decluttering had crossed her mind for years, but the idea of sorting through a lifetime of memories felt paralyzing. Every time she tried, a little voice in her head whispered, "What if I need this later? What if I regret letting it go?" That's when she realized decluttering wasn't just about getting rid of stuff. It was about shifting her mindset. She decided to reframe it. Instead of asking, "What should I throw away?" she asked, "What do I truly love and want in my life?" That small mental switch made all the difference. Suddenly, decluttering wasn't a painful chore. It was an act of self-care. By the end of the day, Margaret hadn't even touched a single item, but she felt lighter already. She was finally ready to begin. 2. Starting small. Decluttering the easy wins. First, the next morning, Margaret woke up feeling motivated, but also a little nervous. She had so much to do. Where should she even begin? Then she remembered something she had read. Start small. So instead of tackling an entire room, she picked one drawer. She opened her bedside table and immediately found 3 pairs of reading glasses, a dozen old receipts, and a flashlight with no batteries. Well, that's a start. Here's the trick. When decluttering feels overwhelming, start with the things that are easiest to let go of. Margaret set a timer for 15 minutes and gave herself one rule: no overthinking. If something was broken, expired, or had no real purpose, it went into the donate or trash pile. By the time the timer buzzed, the drawer was clean, simple, and functional. And even better, that small win gave her the momentum to keep going. Margaret was amazed. One tiny change, and already her home felt a little lighter. 3. Tackling the hidden clutter. Drawers, cabinets, and forgotten spaces. Margaret was feeling confident. She had conquered her bedside drawer, and now it was time for something bigger. But as she walked through her house, she realized most of her clutter wasn't even visible. It was tucked away in drawers, buried in cabinets, hidden in the back of closets. That's when she knew what day 3 would be all about: decluttering the places no one sees. As she pulled everything out, she noticed a pattern. She had been holding on to things just in case. That extra set of measuring spoons? What if I lose one? The old coffee mugs she never used, but they were a gift. The broken can opener? Maybe I'll fix it one day. She took a deep breath and reminded herself, just in case equals never. If something had been sitting untouched for years, it wasn't helping her. It was holding her back. The time she finished the kitchen, she felt a new sense of freedom. She realized that clutter wasn't just about things. It was about holding onto the past instead of making space for the present. The lesson? The less you have, the easier life becomes. Margaret wiped her hands, stood back, and smiled. 3 days down, 4 to go. And tomorrow? Things were about to get emotional. 4. The emotional challenge. Decluttering sentimental items. Margaret stood in front of an old wooden chest tucked away in the corner of her bedroom. This wasn't just any chest. It was the chest. The one filled with memories, stories, and moments frozen in time. Old birthday cards, her husband's watch, her children's baby clothes. Every item had a history, a heartbeat. And now, she was supposed to decide what stays and what goes. Her fingers hovered over a faded greeting card. It was from her late mother, written decades ago, yet the ink still carried so much warmth. Could she let this go? This is why sentimental clutter is the hardest, because it isn't just stuff. It's love in physical form. But here's what Margaret realized. She wasn't losing memories by letting go of things. She was simply choosing what to carry forward. By the time she closed the chest, Margaret felt something unexpected. Relief. She hadn't erased the past. She had set it free. 5. Clearing out clothes. What to keep? What to let go? Margaret always thought her closet was full of possibilities. Different outfits for different moods, different occasions, different versions of herself. But when she counted, she had 5 winter coats, 20 scarves, and shoes she hadn't worn in a decade. And yet, every morning, she still felt like she had nothing to wear. That's when she knew. It was time to declutter her closet. She started by pulling everything out. Yes, everything. It was messy. It was overwhelming. But it was necessary. Suddenly, her closet felt different, lighter, easier. She could see and appreciate every item she loved. And the best part? Getting dressed every morning became effortless. Margaret never realized how much an organized closet could clear her mind, too. 6. Organizing what's left. Making space work for you. The hardest part was over. The clutter was gone, the sentimental pieces were curated with care, and her closet finally made sense. Now Margaret had one final mission: make her homework for her, not against her. She started with the kitchen. No more cluttered countertops. No more searching for measuring cups buried in drawers. She used drawer dividers, labeled her pantry items, and kept only the essentials within arm's reach. Then she tackled the living room. Instead of cluttered bookshelves overflowing with forgotten paperbacks, she chose a small selection of favorites, ones that truly brought her joy. The rest? She donated to the library, and in her bathroom, she finally ditched the endless supply of expired lotions, half-used shampoo bottles, and unnecessary duplicates. Her new mantra? A place for everything, and everything in its place. And just like that, her home became a space of peace, not a place of stress. 7. The big finish. The living room and kitchen transformation. Margaret had made it to the final day of her decluttering challenge. 6 days of sorting, letting go, and rediscovering space had completely changed her home and her mindset. But now, it was time for the biggest transformation yet. She stood in her living room, looking around. This was the heart of her home, where she spent time with family, hosted book club gatherings, and sipped tea on quiet mornings. But lately, it had started to feel stuffy and outdated. The biggest culprit? Too much furniture. She had 3 side tables, 2 armchairs no one used, and shelves overflowing with knickknacks she hadn't dusted in months. The result? Her living room finally felt like a place to relax, not just a place to store things. 8. Reclaiming the kitchen, where function meets simplicity. The kitchen was next. Margaret loved to cook, but let's be honest, her cabinets were a disaster. Mismatched mugs, pots with missing lids, and a drawer full of utensils she didn't even recognize. Margaret's kitchen felt brand new. She had more space, more ease, and less frustration. And for the first time in years, cooking felt fun again. As Margaret wiped down her newly decluttered kitchen counters, she felt something she hadn't felt in a long time: lightness. She had started this journey worried about letting go afraid that decluttering would erase parts of her life. But now, she realized something powerful. She hadn't lost anything. She had gained space, clarity, and peace. Her home was no longer a storage unit for the past. It was a place to truly live in the present. She sat down in her refreshed living room, tea in hand, and smiled. 7 days, one home, a complete transformation. And if she could do it, so can you. 9. The bedroom reset, creating a peaceful retreat. Margaret had made it through the biggest clutter zones, the kitchen, the living room, and all the hidden corners where things piled up over the years. But there was one last space that needed attention, her bedroom. At first glance, it wasn't terrible. The bed was made, the nightstand had a lamp and a book, and the closet doors were shut tight. But as she opened those doors, reality hit. Stacks of sweaters she hadn't worn in years, old bed sheets stuffed into corners, and a top shelf loaded with things she had completely forgotten about. She had to ask herself, was her bedroom a place of rest or just another storage unit? Start with the bed. She swapped old, heavy blankets for a soft, breathable duvet. She invested in high-quality cotton sheets that made bedtime feel like a luxury. Tidy up the nightstand. No more random clutter, unread books, or outdated medicine bottles. Now, just a reading lamp, a journal, and a small vase with fresh flowers. Closet overhaul. She took out every piece of clothing and only kept what she truly loved and wore. The rest, donated to a local shelter. By the end of the day, her bedroom felt like a retreat, a space that wasn't just for sleeping, it was for restoring, recharging, and feeling at peace. 10. Clearing the entryway. The first impression of your home. Margaret had never paid much attention to her entryway. It was just the place where she tossed her keys, hung her coat, and set down the mail. But as she looked at it now, she realized something. The first thing she saw when she walked in wasn't welcoming. It was clutter. A pile of shoes, a table stacked with unopened letters, a coat rack buried in scarves she hadn't worn in years. This wasn't a warm welcome. It was a reminder of disorganization. Shoes found a home. Instead of piling by the door, they now had a small shoe rack. 1 pair per person, easy to grab and go. Mail has a system. Instead of piling up, she added a wall-mounted organizer, 1 slot for bills, 1 for letters, and 1 for magazines. No more messy stacks. Only essentials stayed. A small bench for sitting, a simple hook for her everyday coat, and a decorative mirror to brighten the space. The difference? Now, when she walked in, her home greeted her with calm, not chaos. 11. The final touch. Adding beauty and personal joy. With the major decluttering done, Margaret had one last task, bringing back joy. Decluttering isn't just about removing things, it's about making space for what matters. She took a slow walk through her home, this time with fresh eyes. Instead of looking at what needed to be removed, she looked at what could be added to bring warmth and happiness. She placed a vase of fresh flowers on the dining table. Something small, but it made the whole room feel alive. She hung up a framed photo of her family in the hallway. Instead of cluttering shelves with dozens of pictures, one beautiful, intentional piece made all the difference. She let in more natural light. The heavy curtains in the den? She swapped them for airy, light-filtering drapes that made the whole space feel open and inviting. As she stepped back, she realized her home wasn't just decluttered. It was hers again. And the best part? She felt ready to truly enjoy it. Who knew ditching a few old sweaters and a mountain of random knickknacks could feel this good? Margaret's home is lighter, brighter, and finally a space she loves living in. And guess what? Yours can be too. So tell me, what's the first thing you're decluttering? Drop it in the comments. I promise, no judgment, unless it's a collection of expired ketchup packets.